What limits have you been dealing with right now? What's really holding you back from where you want to go? From who you want to be? Welcome to the Sippin podcast, where the tea is hot and the wine is strong. Grab a drink and sit down. I'm happy you're here. What fears are you currently facing about your capabilities? Is there something that you've always wanted to do, but you're not doing it because you don't think that you have what it takes? What about the fears that come up when you truly consider going after your dreams? What do those look like? What do they sound like? I want to let you in on something that I've learned about fear. Every time we allow a fear to steer us away from action, it doesn't mean that that fear has run its course. Fears don't go anywhere just because you stop thinking about them directly. They turn into your limits. Those limits become our internal dialogues. Limits create a false ceiling that indicates that we can only rise so high. But these limits are just perception. They are false perceptions based on fears that we didn't properly face, based on fears that we didn't go toe-to-toe with. You see, fear is often something that shows up in our life as a pacekeeper and as a traffic controller. Fear is there to tell us where we need to grow. Fear is there to tell us which way we are supposed to go, what we are supposed to do. Fear is something that we are supposed to walk toward and through. Fear shows us what healing needs to happen inside of ourselves in order to be prepared to receive the blessings that are on their way to our lives. Fear prepares us to handle the success that we are working so hard to achieve. So the fears that you haven't properly faced become your limits as you grow and try to expand this space that you take up in this world. Limits cannot let the light in. I've always had this personal fear that I'm just not important enough to be speaking. That when I say something, it will be rebutted by someone who knows better than I do, and I'll end up looking dumb. So this has become my limit. Except I have a light and fire inside of me to share what has helped me in my healing journey, to share what I've learned and exposed inside of myself as I move through life, to share that being who I am makes me a bridge for others working through similar things. But I haven't been sharing because I have a limit that said I didn't belong, a limit that indicated I wasn't important or smart enough to be doing the things that felt so simple and so right to who I am. So I allowed my fear to continue to lie to me and put up this front of a limit because I hadn't faced it. I hadn't taken the time to call it what it was. The thing about fear is that I personally think it's gotten a bad name. The reality of it is fear is just simply misunderstood. When fear says to you, you can't do this, or that will never happen for you, or even, who do you think that you are? Fear isn't saying any of those things are true. Fear is simply testing you to see if you are ready to receive what you're asking for on the other side of that question. Fear is like a prep test, a test to see if you can handle the happy, a test to see if you can handle the success, if you can handle the rising and elevating of yourself. It sounds silly, but when you're so used to being in one space, the other space looks scary because it's new, because it's uncomfortable. Fear isn't saying that uncomfortable isn't worth it. Fear is just saying you're going to have to do some work to be able to absorb what is in that next level. I know because I had to sit with my fear. I had to ask it what its origin story was. And then I had to look at it and look at how and why it was allowed to form in the first place. I had to listen to it as it told me where it came from, as it showed me all of the situations that I went through as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, that told me I might not be good enough, that told me I didn't belong in certain spaces. I had to listen to the stories surrounding those lies. Then I had to give fear what it needed. I had to give fear both acknowledgement and love. Every single part of us and every single one of us has a desire to be seen and to be heard. So it's often that fear is exactly that. It's no different and it's not any more special. It just wants to be seen and heard. And once we give into the vulnerability of looking at the hard parts of ourselves, even when that means we have to hold a family member or a loved one in the light of the truth and adjust and move accordingly, when we allow that vulnerability to exist, we can finally step into the space we are meant to occupy just a little bit more. When we listen to fear and allow it to guide us, we show ourselves that we are ready to remain open to what the universe so badly wants to bring into our lives. We're here to live out our dreams. And when we invite that vulnerability in, when we invite in that understanding, and when we move in love instead of fear, our limits release and our ability to breathe eases. So my advice to you is face your fears and destroy your limits. I know the saying, nothing worth it is easy, is super popular, but I personally think it's a bit misleading. Suffering or allowing others to cause you pain is so often synonymous with this hard, right? But that's just not true. Is healing and facing your fears difficult? Yes, absolutely. Of course it is. Taking apart the internalized habits and self-talks inside of ourselves is never going to be a one and done task. But it's not hard in the sense of other things, because the beauty that comes with meeting yourself in a new light, every time you heal just a teeny bit more, is where joy lives. So I would say instead, nothing worth it is going to come without intention. So I want you guys to go to our Instagram, Sippin Hannah, and find our most recent post for the podcast, and let me know what fear has created in your life. Let me know a limit that a certain fear has created in your life, because I want you to call it out so you can let it go.